So, welcome everyone. The first part of this presentation, I will show to you the actual weather in Europe, and the second part of this presentation, I will pass the ball to my colleague Mariann Darányi. So, let's start. In Central Europe, the last weeks were warmer and drier than normal. So the water level in Danube falls to record low due to recent drought. On the other hand, the Mediterranean countries experience several extreme weather events in connection with, for example, heavy precipitation. First of all, the most important and the hardest question is, where are you and where are you listening and watching in this briefing? Please put your answers onto the map. Use the pencil or any other tools. If you wish, you can also make a comment on the actual weather, your place, and so on. And I try to show our place. We are in Budapest. Okay. I am waiting a few seconds. Okay, let's move on. Thank you very much. Okay. The most severe event going on right now is a cyclone is swirling over the Iberian Peninsula, and several warnings, even the red alarm, were issued for this region by EUMeT, if I'm not wrong the pronunciation, EUMeT, mainly for heavy rain. East of is also issued warnings for excessive precipitation. In the upper right corner, you can see that in last 24 hours, in some places, more than 80 or 100 millimeter was measured in eastern part of Spain. It's unfortunately developing flooding situation in these hours. So let's take a look at the synoptic chart of Europe. High pressure, white high pressure dominates over the most part of Europe. You can see over the Benelux and Germany. In the morning hours, in many places, if I'm not wrong, 6 UTC, many places fog and stratus formed, and active fronts can be found over north, western, and north Europe, and also over West Russia. Low pressure is present in the aforementioned region of Spain and Portugal. And move on to the next slide. We can see an infrared image. Cold cloud tops can be seen close to Spain and Sicily, and also over cool tops over Scandinavia. So lightning activity is observed in some places in the Mediterranean Sea, mostly in the Mediterranean Sea, and RGB pictures in the satellite image, the cloud front is nicely can be seen over Russia and from Russia to the Baltic states, and wide cloud band, the occluded front between Iceland and Scandinavia, you can see the red line. Okay, and the next image is a water vapor image, and some fields from ECMWF model, 300 hectopascal wind and geopotential height. It was the morning of 6 UTC. Ridge is stretching from the Atlantic. In the upper levels, a cutoff low dominates the weather situation of the southwest Europe, and the cross section is made along the red line. This upper low can be seen as in the potential vorticity unit field in the upper right corner. The tropopause is lower than the environment. You can also notice the jet axis here. Here I try to show here and on there. And the next, at 300 hectopascal, strong jet can be found in the northern parts, associated with mentioned active fronts and cyclones. And the before mentioned cutoff low is also can be seen over Iberian Peninsula and northeastern part of Africa. The next slide shows the unstable air masses overlapping with very nice deep layers here in the southern part of Europe. It's a wide range area. We try to show. As we already saw, thunderstorms are already developed in these areas. Another smaller cutoff low is over Central Europe. There are some thunderstorms near to the Budapest, and a small upper level disturbance can be seen near Sicily. And another ridge is located near the Black Sea, eastern part of Black Sea. Okay, the next map shows the accumulated precipitation forecast from ECMWF. It's valid from today, 0 UTC, till Sunday, 0 UTC. We can see a very high amount of precipitation over the aforementioned southwestern Europe area. It's important that most of precipitation has already fallen. Okay, and other slide, let's take a short outlook at the next few days. The temperature will gradually decrease in the following days because the current weather pattern will change significantly. At the beginning of the next week, a so-called blocking situation may form with high over the British Isles, and the cyclone may develop over the Baltic states. According to this flow pattern, so-called Arctic outbreak may occur from north to west central Europe. Okay, we can see these changes also in the precipitation and cloud forecast. So we have a drought in the recent time, and the drier air mass will flow to the western Mediterranean. maybe it's a good news. On the other hand, the eastern will probably have new cycle with heavy precipitation, central and mainly the eastern part of the Mediterranean states. It's a bad news. So, thank you for your attention. This was the first part of the briefing, and I will pass the microphone to my colleague, who will continue with a very similar case to this from the recent weeks.
Hello everybody, my name is Mariann Darányi. I also work as a forecaster at the Hungarian Meteorological Service, Tamás. I will go on with very similar case studies from the recent weeks, because we often say that the history repeats itself, so it also happens with weather. So on the 9th of October this year, there was a severe flash flood in Palma de Mallorca, which caused several fatalities. Only within 2 hours, more than 200 millimeter precipitation was measured. On these maps, you can see the synoptic observations with isobars from 0 UTC to 1800 with 6 hours intervals. High pressure dominates over most part of Europe, and relatively low pressure is over the Western Mediterranean region. On the next slide, the temperature field can be seen at 850 hectopascal, and warm plumes approaching from North Africa, and relatively cold air is present over the eastern part of the Iberian Peninsula. So let's move on to the next map. Here you can check the temperature geopotential on wind field at 500 hectopascal from the ECMWF model. Active frontal zones are moving rapidly from over the north of Europe, and the high pressure zone is stretching from the Atlantic through France and Germany towards Ukraine. Relatively low geopotential field is situated over the Balkans and East Turkey. And another vigorous cutoff low is swirling over Spain, just very similar to today's case. In the lower troposphere, on the next slide, we can see a southeasterly flow which transports very moist air towards the continent. As you can see on the zoomed image on the upper right corner, a well-defined warm conveyor belt can be analyzed. And along the black line, we made a cross-section over Mallorca, where we can see this relatively warm and moist and unstable air mass over the island. The streamlines are almost perpendicular to the orography, which also can lead to flash flood situation in general. Moreover, the sea temperature was slightly above the average in the area. So moisture, lifting, and instability were all present, and the lattice rates were very favorable to deep convection. The convective available potential energy reached up to 3,000 joules per kilogram according to the model sounding. And the considerable deep layer shear supported organized convective cell formation in the region. We can see a widespread convective and or lightning activity in this area during the late afternoon and evening hours. According to all these parameters, the SFX team issued a very similar warning like today. They issued level 2 for most parts of the West Mediterranean due to heavy rain, and to a lesser extent, large hail, severe wind gusts, and tornadoes. The global model, the CNWF, missed this local event, excessive rain event, as the higher precipitation was forecasted for southern France and northeastern Spain. And now let's move to the satellite images. On this infrared image, you can see several cold cloud tops connected to severe convection. And we will share our desktop now because the videos are not working on WebEx. So we will start this animation, which combines the satellite and radar images. Well-defined warm conveyor belt can be seen. This area was affected with widespread, deeply air convection, and well-organized convective systems were developed. We will play the animation again, so you can see it. We have another animation where we zoomed to the island. So thanks to these circumstances, one thundercloud after another hit the island in a very short time. So that's why there was this high precipitation falling. We can play the video again. So we will stop sharing now, the desktop. And let's continue with the radar images, where more convective cells with heavy precipitation passed over the same eastern part of Mallorca, which is very nicely seen. So that was the reason why there was such a severe flash flood event on that area. On the HRV image shows us many nice overshooting tops above the cirrus shield. On the microphysic RGB, we can see developing severe convective cells with small ice particles with orange or yellowish orange color. And the last satellite image will be a so-called sandwich product, where HRV and IR visible channels are combined. And the coldest parts are in reddish colors, which show the presence of very strong updraft. And in the last part of our presentation, a similar event will be discussed briefly. A week later, another flood event happened over the Western Mediterranean region. In Alpes County, southwest France, more than 160 millimeters of rain was measured, most of it during the night hours. This flood caused 13 fatalities. This event was mostly associated with frontal activities. On the synoptic charts, you can see a long waving frontal zone along the western part of the continent. The frontal system slowly shifted to the east. Ahead of this frontal system, warm air was advancing to the north. You can see it on this field. And at 500 hectopascal, we can see a huge ridge, which is situated over east of Europe, and another parts of Europe were reflected by an elongated trough from the British Isles through the Mediterranean Sea. And we would like to draw your attention to this very slow low over Spain. And there is a little bit spoiler, but we will show you that on the upper left corner, you can see a picture of Hurricane Leslie on the 5th of September. So more than a month earlier, this beautiful hurricane was swirling near the Bermudas. And a month later, having a long track across the Atlantic, the ex-Hurricane Leslie, as a tropical storm, was approaching Portugal. And on this specific humidity field, you can see the tropical storm, which is very well seen, and very high moisture content is present. And the tropical storm made landfall on the 14th of October. During the following night, as the upper level low was shifting towards the northeast, as the remaining vortex of the ex-hurricane, the moisture content was transported towards France. Likewise, as in the Mallorca event, in low levels, warm conveyor belt is also analyzable. And the cross-section shows that strong airflow from the sea towards the mainland, and the orography played important role in additional lifting. On the contrary, the model sounding display less cape, but the profile is almost saturated in all levels. The precipitable water is over 35 millimeters. As a result, less lightning activity was observed over the continent. In this case, the model forecast was better than in the previous one because it was more of a synoptic scale event than another scale event in Mallorca. But in this case, the accumulated precipitation was also underestimated. And on the last satellite images, on the infrared channel, you can see a wide cloud band, and the cloudiness is more stratiform. In the previous case, during the Mallorca event, it was all convective. So this is the end of the case studies, but for a brief moment, I would pass the microphone back to my colleague.
Thanks to Mariann. And the last part of this presentation, the flooding. After this flooding, severe devastating flooding events, we would like to ask you a question. Please guess. Do you have any guess what could happen on this video? We have to share our desk, and we try to open the video. And or what strange feature do you notice? And do you know what happened in this video? Please write your comments into the chat box. We try to replay again into the chat box. You can use the chat box. This event, the same day as the Mallorca flash flood happened. Okay, it was the last replay. So, any guess? What strange feature do you notice this previous video or not? Oh, yes. Yes, yes, it's okay. Fire and hot places in a few pixels, and it's the answer. There was an ammunition depot explosion in Ukraine, northeastern Ukraine. It was can be seen the RGB microphysics light composite satellite images. So that was correct explosion, and it's a quite interesting situation was because we can see the pictures. There was stratus clouds in this area, and most of satellite image can't show this explosion, but microphysics, light microphysics composite was the right. Okay, we can replay again, and we try to the point. There was a false image. Sorry for that. Okay, the city or town was Ichnya. It's, if I am not wrong, Ichnya, Ukrainian city. Near the Ichnya was the ammunition depot explosion. Okay, this was it is the end, the presentation. Thank you for your listening and watching, and have a great weekend. Thank you. And any comments and questions, go ahead. We try to answer it, or we can't. We try to together answer it.